Good morning.
Good morning.
I'll be right back.
Sure. Take your time. Good morning, Jenny. Good morning, Joanna. Would either of you like a little review of posture
Good
instructions, or
morning.
are you seasoned meditators?
I am.
Okay,
Thank you, though. I appreciate it.
sure.
Yeah, I'm okay as well. And I apologize. I'm getting used to Zoom buttons.
Have you been trying to get in unsuccessfully for a few minutes, or what? Or did you just try for the first time?
I got in the first time I tried.
I've been struggling to get this thing to come on for 15 minutes. Linda and I managed to figure it out together.
It did give me a problem for just a minute, but I just started a minute ago.
Do you have any questions?
No, none for me. Usually this is in person only, so I don't get the chance to do it. So I'm glad it's over Zoom today.
Well, actually, we've been doing it on Zoom now for several months.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh
Yeah,
my gosh.
yeah, because
Oh,
I've alternated with the other two people, and every 3 weeks I'd go to the center on Sunday, and we did have it. Yes, we've had it on Zoom right along.
oh, I didn't know that. Well, good to know. Thanks so much, Michael.
Well, sure. Thanks for. I'm glad we clarified that for future reference. You can attend. I'll give it another minute. It's 9:01, but I'll wait 1 minute so that anybody who maybe gave up and is trying again can join us from the beginning. Hmm.
Okay, I think we're ready. We're on YouTube.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Sunday morning meditation. And as always, we will begin with setting our intentions with the prayer to generate bodhicitta, and then the four measurables. With the wish to free all beings, we shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Enthused by compassion and wisdom, and today in Buddha's presence, I generate the mind of enlightenment for the sake of all sentient beings. For as long as space remains, and for as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the misery of the world. With a wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Enthused by compassion and wisdom, today, in Buddha's presence, I generate the mind of enlightenment for the sake of all sentient beings. For as long as space remains, and as long as sentient beings remain, until then, may I too remain to dispel the misery of the world. With a wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Enthused by compassion and wisdom, today in Buddha's presence, I generate the mind of enlightenment for the sake of all sentient beings. For as long as space remains, for as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. The four immeasurables. May all sentient beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. May all sentient beings be free from suffering and from the causes of suffering. May all sentient beings be inseparable from the happiness that's free from suffering. And may all sentient beings abide in equanimity, free from attachment for friends and hatred for enemies. May all sentient beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. May all sentient beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May all sentient beings be inseparable from the happiness that is free from suffering. And may all sentient beings abide in equanimity, free from attachment for friends and hatred for enemies. Love. May all sentient beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. compassion. May all sentient beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. Joy. May all sentient beings be inseparable from the happiness that is free from suffering. Equanimity. May all sentient beings abide in equanimity, free from attachment for friends, hatred for enemies, and indifference towards strangers. So make yourself comfortable. And we will begin. Ensure your back is straight, comfortably straight, not rigid. You're rooted below by the ground, the earth. Letting everything relax and releasing all tension. And taking a few cleansing breaths to begin and to clear the mind of any disturbances. And on the inhale, breathing in positive energy. And on the exhale, releasing negative energy. And bring the mind to focus on the breath as an anchor. As a tool to help us become more aware of our awareness. So this guided meditation is from Thubten Chodron, and it is in essence an introduction to the Buddhist view. Since many people now interested in Buddhism have not been raised Buddhist and have not lived in Buddhist culture, some initial reflections on the basic Buddhist approaches are helpful. So these meditations will help us understand how our mind operates in daily life, how our mental process and our thoughts and feelings influence our experiences. This verse is from the Dhammapada, the words of Buddha. Mind is the source of happiness and pain. Excuse me. Mind is the forerunner of all actions. All deeds are led by mind, created by mind. If one speaks or acts with a corrupt mind, suffering follows, just as wheels follow the hoof of an ox. Mind is the forerunner of all actions. All deeds are led by mind and created by mind. If one speaks or acts with a serene mind, happiness follows as surely as one's shadow. Try to remember a disturbing situation in your life and recall what you were thinking and feeling, not what the other person was saying and doing. How did the way that you described the situation to yourself influence how you experienced it? Examine how your attitude affected what you said and what you did in that situation. How did your words and actions affect the situation, and how did the other person respond to what you said and did? Was your view of the situation realistic? Were you seeing all sides of the situation, or were you seeing through the eyes of I, me, mine, my? Think of how you might have viewed the situation differently. If you had had a broad mind and been free from all self-centeredness, how would that have changed your experience of it? In conclusion of this, determine to be aware of how you interpret events and to cultivate beneficial and realistic ways of looking at them. Next, taking the ache out of attachment. In the words of Aryadeva from the 400, attachment is no friend, but seems like one, which is why you do not fear it. But shouldn't people particularly rid themselves of a harmful friend? Based on a superimposition or an exaggeration of the positive qualities of a person or an object or idea, attachment is an attitude that clings to an object as the source of happiness. Attachment differs from positive aspiration. For example, being attached to money is different from having a positive aspiration to learn the Dharma. Let's reflect. What things, people, places, ideas, etc., are you attached to? Think of specific examples. Ooh. Okay. How does that person or object appear to you? Does it really have all the qualities that you perceive and attribute to it? Do you develop unrealistic expectations of that person or object, thinking that person or object will always be there and will continuously make you happy? And how does your attachment make you act? For example, do you disregard your ethical standards to get what you're attached to? Do you get into dysfunctional relationships? Do you become manipulative or aggressive? The conclusion: see attachment not as your friend, bringing you happiness, but as a thief destroying your peace of mind. Recognizing the disadvantages of attachment helps us to let go of it. Transforming attachment. Again from the Dhammapada. Attachment arises from wrong conceptions. So know them as attachment's root, avoid conceptualizations, and then attachment will not arise. Thinking of the object of your attachment, apply an antidote to it. Each of the 4 points ahead is a separate antidote. You can use an example from your own life for each point. 1, if you possess this thing, or person, or if you get your way, will it bring lasting happiness and satisfaction? What new problems could arise? Does any external person or thing have the ability to bring you lasting happiness? Two, if you separate from this object or person, what is the worst thing that could happen? Is that likely to happen? What resources, internal and in the community, can help you deal with the situation? Three, look back at the thing or the person that you're now separated from and rejoice at the time you had together, and go into the future with an optimistic attitude. Four, imagine giving the thing or the person to someone else who receives it with joy. With a joyful mind, imagine offering the thing or person to the Buddha. And in conclusion, feel balanced and feel free to enjoy without clinging. And having observed how our mind operates in daily life, let's now look at the mind itself, its nature, and its continuity from one lifetime to the next. The nature of mind. This is from the Anguttara Nikaya, the Mind, Part 2, Words of the Buddha. This mind, O monastics, is luminous, but it is defiled by adventitious defilements. The uninstructed worldling does not understand this as it really is. Therefore, for him, there is no mental development. This mind, O monastics, is luminous, and it is freed from adventitious defilements. The instructed noble disciple understands this as it really is. Therefore, for him, there is mental development. The word mind does not refer to the brain because the brain is made of atoms while the mind is not. The mind is that part of us that experiences and feels and perceives and thinks. The presence of the mind is what makes the difference between a living being and a dead body. And the mind has two qualities. One, clarity. It is formless and allows objects to arise in it. And two, awareness. It can engage with objects. Calm your mind by observing the breath. Now turn your attention to the mind itself, to what is meditating, experiencing, feeling. That is, to the subject, not the object of the meditation. And observe. What is your mind? Does it have shape or color? Where is it? Can you find the mind somewhere? Try to get a sense of the clarity and the awareness that are perceiving, feeling, and experiencing. Clarity, awareness. Now focus on the perceiving subject, not on the object of the perception. As thoughts arise, observe. What are thoughts? Where do they come from? Where are they? And where do they go when they cease? In this, experience your mind as clarity and awareness, free from thought. So the next guided Lamrim meditation on the stages of the path is focus on the mind and rebirth. Our present life is not an isolated independent event, but part of a continuity. Although there is no soul, nor any permanent self, our mind stream has existed before this life and will continue to exist in the future. Consider, are you the same person who was an infant and who will be an aged person? Or are you in a state of constant flux? Recognize that your body and mind have changed from conception to the present, and that they will continue to change in the future. In this way, loosen the concept that views yourself as permanent and the concept that identifies the I with the present body and mind. The body is material in nature. The mind is formless, clear, and knowing. Thus, the continuities of body and mind are different. Look at the qualities of your body and of your mind and see how they are different. So, rebirth can be explained in terms of cause and effect. Each moment of mind has a cause. The preceding moment of mind, which has a cause. The moment that precedes that. Get a sense of the continuity of the mind going back in your life, and noting that each moment of mind arose from the previous moment. When you get back to the time of conception, ask, where did this moment of mind come from? Some other ways for getting a sense of rebirth are to contemplate the stories of people who have remembered their previous lives. So at least provisionally accept rebirth What other things could it help to explain? For example, those deja vu experiences, the differing personalities of children within the same family, from the same parents, and the familiarity with certain skills or subjects. So since your body, the life form you're born into, is a reflection of your mental states, consider that very pronounced mental states could cause rebirth in certain types of bodies. For example, a human being who acts worse than an animal could potentially be reborn as an animal. Conclude this with the idea that you are not simply this present person, but instead exist as part of a continuum that spans more than just this life. The mind is clarity and awareness. It has a continuity that is beginningless and endless, taking rebirth in one body after another. Next, we'll examine the very essence of the Buddhist teachings, the Four Noble Truths, which describe the unsatisfactory situation of uncontrolled rebirth in which we are presently caught, samsara, as well as for our potential for liberation and happiness, nirvana. From the foundations of the Mindfulness Sutra, the Buddha said, "Here a monastic understands it as it actually is. This is dukkha, suffering, complications. He understands it as it actually is. This is the origin of dukkha. He understands as it actually is. This is the cessation of dukkha. And he understands it as it actually is. This is the path leading to the cessation of dukkha." The first two of the Four Noble Truths outline our present situation and its causes. The last two present our potential and the path to actualize it. It is true that we experience unsatisfactory conditions, suffering, difficulties, problems. Suffering is to be recognized. What difficulties, both physical and mental, do you have in your life? Recognize these difficulties as part of the human experience, as arising simply because you have the body and the mind that you do. It is true that these unsatisfactory experiences have causes: ignorance, attachment, anger, which are the three poisons, and other mental afflictions, as well as the actions, karma, that we do under their influence. These causes of our unsatisfactory situation are to be abandoned. Spend a few minutes now seeing how your negative emotions cause you suffering and perpetuate the unsatisfactory state of cyclic existence in which you're caught. Reflect that these mental afflictions distort your perception of an object and cause you to act in ways that bring suffering to yourself and to others. It is true that the possibility to cease completely these unsatisfactory conditions and their causes exists. The possibility exists. These cessations are to be actualized. Reflect that it is possible to be free from mental afflictions, from karma and dukkha. What would it feel like not to be under the influence of disturbing attitudes, negative emotions, and the actions motivated by them? Then it is true also that there is a path, the Eightfold Path, to bring about liberation. The path is to be practiced. Generate the aspiration to cultivate it. True cessations and true paths are the refuge of the Dharma. Make a determination to abandon any chaotic or misinformed ways that falsely promise happiness, and to follow the paths of ethical conduct, concentration, wisdom, and to generate love, compassion, and the altruistic wish of bodhicitta. May we always aspire to follow the Eightfold Path. Right view, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, meditative stability, and wisdom, mindfulness. In the Anguttara Nikaya, the distortions of perceptions, the words of the Buddha describe the three characteristics. Those who perceive the changing to be permanent, suffering dukkha as bliss, a self in the selfless, and who see in the foul the mark of beauty, such folk resort to distorted views, mentally deranged, subject to illusions, caught by Mara, not free from bonds. They are still far from the secure state, the serene state, and such beings wander through the painful round and go repeatedly from birth to death. But when the Buddhas appear in the world, the makers of light in a mass of darkness, they reveal this teaching, the noble Dharma that leads to the end of suffering. When people with wisdom listen to them, they at last regain their sanity. They see the impermanent as impermanent, and they see suffering just as suffering. They see the selfless as void of self, and in the foul, they see the foul. By this acceptance of right view, they overcome all suffering. Contemplating these three characteristics of all things in cyclic existence helps us to better understand our present situation and our potential. All people and things in cyclic existence have three characteristics. 1, impermanence, transience. Reflect by looking at your life. Everything in our world, the people, objects, reputation, are transient and changeable by their very nature. Our refusal to accept this reality causes us pain. In your heart, try to accept the transient nature of all things. Second, unsatisfactory conditions. Dukkha, suffering. Not everything is 100% wonderful in our lives ever. We always experience unsatisfactory situations, pain and suffering, both physical and mental. Happy situations that are unsatisfactory because they're actually no more than a temporary alleviation of our suffering. In addition, they change. They disappear. The unsatisfactory situation of having a body that ages and gets sick and dies, and a mind that is under the control of afflictions and karma. The third characteristic, selflessness. Reflect that all these seemingly solid and independent things, ourselves and other phenomena, are without inherent, findable existence. Understanding this counteracts ignorance, eliminating that root cause of all the unsatisfactory experiences of cyclic existence. So let's reflect on transience, unsatisfactory conditions, and selflessness, and then remember our spiritual potential, making a determination to let go of the clinging and the ignorance that keep us bound to cyclic existence. And we dedicate in conclusion the merit we have generated for the alleviation of suffering and for the happiness of all sentient beings. We say the prayer by Master Shantideva for our dedication. May all beings everywhere plagued by sufferings of body and mind obtain an ocean of happiness and joy by virtue of our merits. May no living creature suffer, commit evil, or ever fall ill. May no one be afraid or belittled with a mind weighed down by depression. May the blind see forms, may the deaf hear sounds, and may those whose bodies are worn with toil be restored upon finding repose. May the naked find clothing and the hungry find food. May the thirsty find water and delicious drinks. May the poor find wealth, those weak with sorrow find joy. May the forlorn find hope and constant happiness and prosperity. May there be timely rains and bountiful harvests, and may all medicines be effective and wholesome prayers bear fruit. May all who are sick and ill quickly be freed from their ailments, and whatever diseases there are in the world, may these never occur again. May the frightened cease to be afraid, those bound be freed. May the powerless find power, and may people think of benefiting each other. For as long as space remains, for as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the misery of the world. And we'll say the 7-limb prayer as well, I think 3 times before we close. Reverently I prostrate with my body, speech, and mind. I present clouds of every type of offering, actual and imagined. I declare all my negative actions accumulated since beginningless time and rejoice in the merit of all holy and ordinary beings. Please remain until the end of cyclic existence and turn the wheel of Dharma for living beings. I dedicate my own merits and those of all others to the great enlightenment. And let's say a prayer for the long life of His Holiness the Dalai Lama. In the land encircled by snow mountains, you are the source of all happiness and good, all-powerful Chenrezig Tenzin Gyatso. Please remain until samsara ends. And we'll finally say a Green Tara mantra 7 times in our final prayer. Om Tare Tutare Ture Soha. 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 Thank you all so very much. I appreciate you
Thank you,
persisting
Michael.
and your perseverance.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you, Michael.
Thanks for doing this today.
Well, thanks for being here, no less.
There was about 5 people on YouTube as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
They don't identify themselves, so do they?
Mm-mm.
I wonder if my friend David was on because he said he was going to be here this morning.
Oh, maybe so.
Yeah, it's really unusual to have as few as 3. You know, I thought there'd be like twice as many as the weekday meditations.
Yeah. Well, there were some on YouTube, and it was a kind of a last minute change. So, but
Right, and
we'll keep offering it on Zoom.
not only that, but the technical difficulties we had this morning. Can you offer me any suggestions, criticism, or anything that comes to mind that I could do better or differently?
For the meditation, the actual,
Yeah.
The only thing that I was thinking is have in the beginning a longer time for just concentration meditation on the breath.
Okay.
Otherwise, it's good.
I
always enjoy
actually
your
had tried. I
meditation.
thought I planned that, and I didn't do it though. Yeah. Okay. Thank you for mentioning that.
Yeah. It just gives you a chance to get settled into the meditation rather than just jumping into something real quick. And then it's like, oh, wait, I need to be thinking about this. Yeah. So, yeah, but that's it. I love your meditations. You do great.
Yeah. Right.
Thank you, Michael.
I so appreciate you and everything you do, and inviting me to lead this too.
Oh, thank you. I think it's wonderful. All right. Have a good one. I'll see you in
Have a good day.